So let's start with some inspiration. Why should we meal plan? I'm going to jump right into the first point for you to write down. Stay motivated by the benefits of meal planning. So many a year ago, I was a student teacher in Irvine Unified, and I was observing my mentor teacher during my very first back-to-school night. My mentor teacher was very experienced. She taught high school students in a range of college prep freshmen all the way to AP seniors. And I honestly couldn't wait to hear what pearls of wisdom I was going to learn that evening from her. After she had introduced the class to the parents and had explained the curriculum and the plans for the year, she said, "This year, there is one thing you can do to best support your kids and help them be successful." My ears perked up, and I was so intrigued what was going to come next. She went on, "Eat a meal with your child as many times a week as possible. That's it. Sit together as a family to eat." That's it. I thought, the best way to support their kids? My very wise mentor continued on, briefly explaining the 20-plus years worth of research and numerous studies about the benefits for children of all ages. Some of the things she listed included improved academic performance, improved family dynamics and communication, and then reduced risk of depression, substance abuse, obesity, and even teenage pregnancy. Well, my mind was blown, and I felt so much gratitude in that moment for my own parents. They had put forth a ton of effort my whole life to make family meals happen, and I was a huge beneficiary of their care for me and our whole family. And I didn't even realize until that moment what my parents had done for me, so thanks, Mom. But maybe that's not you today. Maybe you didn't have a family growing up that invested in meals together. And today you're hearing about these benefits, but you're like, I don't have a clue. How am I supposed to actually do that? How can I make that happen in my home? Or if I had to hazard a guess, you are busy and probably tired. And at about 4 to 5 p.m., the time you start to usually think about dinner, that's traditionally a tough time of the day. There might be baseball practice or a dance class or a 2-year-old bordering on meltdown status. You may stare blankly into your refrigerator, hoping that a miracle will appear, and then end up ordering takeout. Maybe your husband travels a fair amount for work, like mine does, or he has to work through the dinner hours. Maybe you are a single mama. Maybe you have to work close yourself to meal times, and that makes cooking very challenging. Maybe you've gone to the effort of cooking, but no one will eat it, and there's a ton of conflict between the elbowing siblings next to each other at the dinner table, and now you feel super discouraged. Well, regardless of your life stage or season, meal planning is a huge help to all of these maybes, and will actually help you implement regular meal times as a family and reap all those benefits I listed, as well as reduce your own stress, because you know what's coming, help maintain healthy eating habits for all, and save your family money by throwing away less food and making less impulse buys. But the very top motivator of all, for me as a Christian woman, is that meal planning is one very tangible way that I can love God and show love to my family. It is good work that counts for a lifetime and for eternity to come. You may have heard of the Proverbs 31 woman, who is an example of an excellent, godly wife, one that we would do well to imitate. So listen to this from Proverbs 31, verse 27. "She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness." So when I have an eternal mindset that God cares about the ways of my household and that he's pleased by the efforts that I put in born out of love, I can rely on him to give me the strength to push past all of those challenges and put in the hard work to love my family excellently. He sees the sacrifice of time and energy and knows full well that love requires sacrifice. That is, after all, what he teaches us in his word. In John 15:12-13, Jesus says, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends." Jesus laid down his life for us, the greatest sacrifice of all, and calls us to follow his example and love by laying down our desires and comforts for others. This is another way that we imitate God's holiness and show to our watching family and others that we want to love and obey God above ourselves. What wonderful news that we can imitate Jesus and trust that he will provide for our needs as we sacrifice to love others. So, to summarize all of that inspiration, imitate God's love through meal planning. Now that we have lots of excellent motivations, let's dive into the how-tos of meal planning. So, how-to number 1 is develop an orderly system for the family calendar. Because, yes, you do need to know what's going on in life so you can choose meals that will actually work for your schedule. There's no point in planning a dinner that's going to take 2+ hours of prep time if you have swim lessons from 4 to 5 p.m. A family calendar is also a great communication tool between you and your husband, as well as any reading kiddos you have at home. I personally buy a wall calendar and then use different colors for each person. So, for example, black would be an all-family activity, brown specific for my husband. I'm pink, obviously. The kids have their colors too. So it's a great visual, and I keep cup of markers like right next to my calendar for easy updating. And then I also keep a shared Apple calendar on my phone because that's my husband's preference and best serves him. So I got a dual calendaring system going on. So once you have a really good grip on your family's commitments and plans for the week, the next how-to is collate meals that fit your family and your personality. Both, because you are mostly doing the cooking, so you need to do something that you enjoy. Write down meals you already make, ask friends for their favorites, look at blogs and cookbooks. This can be as simple as writing down a list on a piece of paper, typing a document, making a Pinterest board, or I have found, old-fashioned me, I personally love just having a handwritten recipe book. And yeah, that's definitely taken time to write down my recipes, but I found it's actually helped me be less stressed out at meal times because little fingers like to press buttons on my phone, and then I'm looking at an ad instead of the recipe, or someone steals my phone altogether. So I like the handwritten recipe book right there for me. And then I only commit to writing it down in the recipe book if it's something I've made multiple times. It's been a hit for most of the family. Note, not all, most. And so in terms of my personality for cooking, I like to be adventurous and try different things, so a new recipe makes it in the rotation fairly often. And yes, that means sometimes I fail, and it doesn't taste great, but we make it through dinner time, and by then we say, oh, well, here's what we learned for next time, and it's good to try new things. I've also got a couple of fun cookbooks I like to flip through, or if I have a meal in mind I want to learn, I'll Google it or Pinterest it or do some reading. And if a friend shares a recipe, I definitely try it. One of my besties, Anna, has shared many recipes, and several are so easy and loved that they have made it into the recipe book. I'll also ask for recipes for meals when people make them for us. So, for example, Tracy made some delicious enchiladas for us when I had a newborn. I don't remember which newborn, but a newborn. And I just made these 2 weeks ago. They're also in the book. And then let's not forget our husbands. Mine enjoys barbecuing and smoking foods, and he's happy to be included in the plan based on what works for his work schedule. So there are so many tools for finding meals that we can enjoy for years to come. Help yourself out by making a list. So here's a couple of tips as you consider meals that will work for your family. Tip A, it's perfectly fine to be simple. If every Tuesday night is Taco Tuesday, then fabulous. If going out for pizza on Friday night is a time-honored tradition, then great. Friday is forever planned for you. For sides, it's totally fine to steam some plain broccoli or green beans or serve up raw carrots and sliced apples. I've actually found my kids eat their veggies and fruits with less conflict when they consistently are offered simple whole versions rather than the fancy seasonings we want to throw on top. Okay, B is think about the season of life your family is in. This is where you consider how to start right where you are. And as a side note, family meals don't have to be dinner, and they don't have to be every day. Sometimes that's just not possible. So just shoot for as many times as possible, and if Saturday morning family breakfasts are your jam and toast, I love it. Now, I am in a season of small children, and my husband does travel quite a bit. That means we have a lot of give and take with child-friendly meals. So we've kind of developed this plan over time. We've decided to make breakfast and lunch easy for them, mostly. Sometimes we give a few challenges in there. With dinner being the time and space to help them develop new tastes and learn new things, with still a lot of favorites mixed in. So breakfast tends to be those pre-made items unless we are off school or on a weekend with extra time. So I'll plan muffins or cinnamon rolls. I consistently have cereals and bagels with cream cheese, bananas, fruit. I'll make granola and yogurt. And then the kids get to pick what they want in the morning, and that helps them because they have a lot of choices, and they have that independent time to be able to eat what they like the best for what I can offer them. Lunch tends to be easy things like quesadillas, sandwiches, mac and cheese, hot dogs, chicken nuggets, leftovers. Again, super child-friendly and stuff they'll eat easily without a ton of stress. You can even look into the library for free lunches during the summertime. Lots of libraries give those. I definitely need to take full advantage of school-provided lunches, too, in this season in life. So it's okay to use your community around you to help feed your family. And like I said, for dinner, we definitely have favorites, but I also like to sprinkle in new things to expand taste buds. Plus, that's fun for me because I like to be adventurous. But then we also plan evenings off where we do takeout or go to a restaurant or go to a friend's house. Or here's a plug for our new family night dinner here at Compass Tustin. Right after our prayer nights, once a month. That's this dinner. You do not have to plan. You can just show up and eat here with us as a family, and you're all invited. All right, so our third how-to for meal planning is choose a consistent time to plan meals, make a shopping list, and go grocery shopping. So for me personally, I typically meal plan and create my shopping list Sunday night after the kids are in bed, and then I shop Monday morning after we drop off the big kids at school. I'm in a season where I shop at Stater Brothers once a week and shop at Costco for bulk items twice a month, about. So on Sunday night, I'll pull out my calendar that I have already completed. I look and see what meals make sense for which day. So I simply utilize my notes app to list out the meal plan. I mean, I used to try and write it down on the wall, but the chalk was just too much for me. Maybe one day I'll get back to making it fancy and pretty. But for right now, just putting it on the notes app works for me, and that helps me be consistent and be flexible too, which I'll get into later. And then as for the grocery list itself, we use Alexa. So as we run out of things, like cream cheese, anyone can add it to the list. And I tell them, if it's not on the list, I will not remember. My brain space only has so much space, so it needs to be on the list. If you don't say cream cheese, it's not going to happen. But then I also will review the things that were added, because sometimes kids add things like Pokemon cards. And then I'll check my fridge and pantry for what I still need. Obviously, there are tons of fancier ways to do this. You can use grocery pickup or another service or a special app for meals and groceries. You really need to find what works for you and your family. The fourth how-to is execute the plan with a flexible heart. Hopefully, with a motivated mindset to show God's love to our families, a good grasp of the calendar, a list of meals that work for you, and consistent planning and shopping, you can do this. But obviously, things come up, and that's when we say, God knows better than I do. His plans are still better than my plans, even when kids get sick or you get sick, friends need meals, baseball practice gets canceled, yay. A sudden school project comes up. It's okay to change the plan as the Lord crafts your days. So sometimes I end up pulling out those frozen taquitos or switching to an easier meal that was planned for a different day of the week. And sometimes I do indeed text my husband with a plea to pick up dinner on the way home. But I'd have to say for the most part, meal planning will actually help you be flexible because you have a fridge and pantry full of planned mealed items, ingredients on hand where, okay, so maybe the chicken dinner you planned for tonight isn't going to work. Let's pivot and pick a different meal that I planned later in the week. And like I mentioned earlier, for the nights where I'm like tired and people are melting down, I can think ahead and be like, Friday night, I know we're going out to dinner. We can make this meal tonight because I'm going to get a break later. So having that plan can really help you push through some of the feelings that come up. All right, here's some tips for executing the plan. So tip A is get the kids involved. It helps my kids in both attitude, behavior, and even eating itself during cooking and mealtime to have little jobs. I can send them out to the garden to pick tomatoes for the salad or pick some tangerines for their lunch side. Another way that I've gotten them interested is they get to pick out a vegetable or fruit during the shopping time to use in their meals. I ask for requests, and that's how a lot of times favorites will emerge as kids keep asking for the same different meals coming in, and then I like to honor their requests as much as I can. A new family goal for this year is that I'm going to have my oldest son start cooking with me one night a week. So I share the plan with him and let him pick his night. And then the littles, my two little girls, often bake with me or meal prep with me during school hours. So they get their plenty of hands-on time in the kitchen as well. And that brings me to point B, or tip B. Try and prep ahead for meals so there's less cook time later. This definitely helps with those afternoon meltdowns and the general feeling of an exhaustion a mom may or may not have by 5 p.m. One recent thing I've been doing is I've been getting a rotisserie chicken or roasting my own, shred it up, use that chicken for most meals for the rest of the week. You have a whole container full of chicken you can just throw into enchiladas or whatever you want to use it for. And then I throw the carcass into a pot, cover it up with water, and then I have chicken stock a few hours later. And I can freeze that, or I can store it in the fridge for later use. And tip C, speaking of freezers, use yours heavily. Make double of a meal, freeze the remaining portion. Or, like, I love to bake, and I bake in large quantities because I have 4 children who also love to bake goods. Who doesn't? So I will freeze those things, and they freeze well, and then I can just pull it out in the morning. It's so satisfying when you pull out this frozen breakfast burrito for an almost instant meal, or pull out that frozen slice of sourdough for an afternoon snack. It is wonderful. Which brings me to letter D, make cooking a joy. This can be a fun family time. Someone can be setting the table while another gets water for the pot. Another is collecting all the ingredients for the meal. And it's also okay to let your kids rest and watch TV while you have some time to yourself in the kitchen. I usually do a combo of both. We start the meal with everybody helping, and then as soon as they finish their job, they can go take some rest and time out and watch some TV. Another thing that I enjoy doing while I cook is just turning on music and dancing in between, stirring the pasta sauce. I love lighting candles, and my current favorite is using pink salt. It's naturally pink. It's so fun to just sprinkle it on like sliced cucumber or spoon it into your flour as you're making a dough. It just makes me smile. And thank God that I get to dash something pretty in. And yeah, now I have a Costco tub of pink salt sitting in my pantry. So I pray today was a source of inspiration for you as you consider implementing meal planning into your family life, remembering that showing God's love is our top priority among the many other benefits that will come with the hard but good work. And just as a little extra help, I shared a few of my family favorite recipes with you today, as well as my real life meal plan from last week. Enjoy your discussion time. Thank you.